And welcome back to our channel. This is George Philbeck, and my beautiful, talented wife, Jackie Sosa, is at a home inspection, so she won't be here today. Today's topic, homeowners insurance, and you need to know what's going on regarding this important topic. So I have a special guest today who's going to be joining us in just a second to shed some light on some of the fallacies of homeowners insurance in the state of Florida. And he's also going to give us some tips and tricks to save us some money and to be better prepared for the coming years. Joining us is Dan Brown. Now, he is the owner of the Absolute Risk Insurance Agency, and he is ready and prepared to tackle some of these hard questions about what's going on with Florida insurance. Insurance is a big question in Florida. When you're moving here, you have a lot of questions of, can I even get insurance? We're going to ask. I promise you we'll get to that. Some of the topics that we'll be covering and asking Dan about is the perceived mass exodus of the insurance companies. Can you still get insurance in the state of Florida? We're also going to discuss some of the new criteria insurance companies are rolling out regarding the age of the roof, when a roof must be replaced, and what's happened with roofing that has caused such pushback. And will there even be insurance companies in the next couple of years? That's a big and legitimate question here in Florida. These are all important questions that you deserve an answer to, so stick around. We're going to get to them right now. Hey everybody, I've got Dan Brown with me with Absolute Risk Insurance. It's an insurance company that I personally use and a lot of my clients use here in the state of Florida. He is an absolute master. His father was in insurance. This is a generational family policy, and he knows Florida. So I asked him to jump on. Dan, great to have you with us. Thank you so much for spending a couple minutes. We've got some questions for you if you're ready.
Thanks, George. Good to be here. I appreciate it.
Well, let's get started with it. The very first question out the gate. We hear you can't get insurance in Florida anymore. We're hearing you can't insure in Florida. It doesn't work. Either validate that, which I hope you don't, or debunk it and tell us the case. Tell us about it. Can we get insurance here?
Yes, you can get insurance. Absolutely. Otherwise, mortgage companies wouldn't be lending money right now. So absolutely, you can get insurance. The market is not as wide open as we wish it would be, but I've had no problem finding policies for anybody that wants a policy. So that's not true. You can get insurance in the state of Florida without a doubt.
I knew that. I'm really glad you said that. I've got a couple other questions that are going to kind of poke you at that one a little bit because we want some more answers. Let's move on to our next question. Good to know that we can get insurance, but I got another question for you along the same line, Dan. 2 years down the road, is there going to be any insurance companies left here in the state of Florida?
Absolutely. Florida is a very dynamic market that most insurance companies want to be here because they know they can eventually make money as long as the legislation continues to make the changes needed to protect the bottom line of these insurance companies. So yeah, they're going to be around, and we're going to see some leave the state, and then we'll see a bunch more come in. Yeah, we're going to be in good shape here the next couple 3 years, I believe.
Okay, terrific. I appreciate that because there's a couple people out there, myself included, we're kind of worried about that. By the way, for everybody watching, if you like this kind of content, do me a favor, hit the like and the subscribe button. It's real helpful to Jackie and I. She can't be here today. She's at a home inspection. And more importantly, you want to do that because we're going to be talking to a lending partner of ours next about how to get the best rates and how to do that. So definitely hit subscribe so you're part of it. Let's get to the next topic, Dan. I wrote down this because I thought it was important. What can we do as homeowners to lower our insurance premium? How can we lower that?
So there are several ways. One of the biggest things that I look at when I'm requoting my customers for their renewals, or if I'm getting new customers coming in, is because the dwelling amounts are going up so much. If your home's insured for $250,000, the insurance companies will automatically give you 50% of the dwelling amount for contents. Well, if you don't have $125,000 in contents, then talk to your agent about reducing that down to something that's more reasonable about what you have, because just because you have $125,000 on that policy doesn't mean you're going to get $125,000 if there's a total loss. They're only going to give you what you have. So that's the first thing you should do, is take a look at your contents coverage, your personal property on your policy. And that, by the way, is a premium driven coverage that if you do reduce it by 30, 40, 50,000, you're going to see your policy drop a couple hundred dollars. So pay attention to your personal property and your policy. Obviously, raising your deductibles is going to help. Pay attention to your discounts. If you have smoke detectors and fire alarm and burglar and they're monitored, let your insurance agent know that. If you are in a condo and you have sprinklers, let your agent know that. Those things matter. If you have hurricane shutters, obviously make sure your insurance company knows that. If you had your roof put on in the last couple of years and you didn't tell your insurance company, you have to get a wind mitigation report, and that will absolutely save you more money. So these are all things you can do. it's always good to talk to your agent once a year to go over your policy to make sure that it's where it should be anyway. And that will always, you'll always find ways to save money just by doing a review, most likely.
Well, and you said something that I really liked, and that was you said when you're re-quoting, and I know that because I happen to work with you, that we review my policy at least every other year, but really on demand, we'll take a look at it. And you're always looking for ways to bring my costs down by, well, as you said, when we put the new hurricane shutters on, you're like, George, I need to know about them. Give me full descriptions. I did, and it dropped my insurance a little bit. Where our garage doors need to be replaced because you said that's a weakness. If you do those, you've got a pretty secure house. I love that you're doing that, and it's a big deal. So it's the little things, kind of nickel and dimes, that'll get your money down. Did I hear that correctly?
Absolutely. Pay attention to all the safety things in your house. Pay attention to your policies, coverages, to make sure that you're not over covered.
Terrific. Now, I have another one for you. And I hear this all the time because we're having some issues in the real estate sector where I'm involved with in helping people buy and sell homes. So I wanted to pose it to you. I'm hearing that you cannot get insurance on a home if you've got a roof that's over 10 years old. Now, before you answer that, for all of you that don't know, we have really three different kinds of roofs here that we mainly focus on. What's called a 3-tab roof. It has a 20-year life, which means only 10 years in Florida. An architectural shingle, which has a 30-year life, but only a 20-year life in Florida. And tile roofs, which would go to 50, which means only 30 years here in Florida. But Dan, we're hearing that if it's over 10 years, they're giving us some pushback. Can you add to that, please?
Yeah, so all these roof claims over the last 10 years in Florida, because of some of the loopholes in the laws, allowed roofers to go knocking on doors and looking up the age of your roof and then looking at storm data and hey, there's a hailstorm that went by on March of 2021 and it was in your neighborhood. Can I get up on your roof and look? And if your roof's over 10 years old, there's going to be some damage on it because we live in Florida and the heat absolutely destroys these roofs. So insurance companies said, okay, so we're going to start limiting the amount of policies we take with roofs that are over 10 years old. That law has changed. It's much harder now to do what they used to do. So insurance companies are going to start to ease those guidelines. And you're going to see that you'll be able to insure a 20-year-old roof. And then there's also other provisions that these insurance companies are starting to give options to a roof payment schedule where if you opt that, they'll let you have a 20-year-old roof because it's going to pay you based on the age of your roof, not replacement cost of it brand new. So if it is a 20-year-old roof, we have 20-year-old cars. You don't go to the dealership and say, hey, my car is 20 years old. I want a new car. You don't get a new roof just because it's 20 years old. So, it has to have damage. It has to have real damage. So you're going to see the guidelines get better as this law takes into effect and all these claims. There's over 500,000 claims in the state of Florida right now that lawyers have filed lawsuits on. Those have got to get processed over the next couple of years before we really see any real change in the way that these policies are underwritten. But you will see the change happen. I still have companies that will write roofs that are 30 years old. Tile roofs are 30, 40 years old. I can still write them. Shingle roofs, yeah, I still have them 15, 20 years old. I still write them. As long as they have 3 years of life lock, we can write them. So there's your answer.
And during the inspection process, sorry, Dan, I was going to say during the inspection process, we actually determine the age of the roof. Our inspectors can do that so we can provide you with valuable information in making that
Correct.
Decision
Correct.
at the inspection, which is right up front. So you're not waiting till the very end of the purchase.
Yeah, every realtor, wants you to get a home inspection. On top of that home inspection, make sure you get a 4-point inspection and make sure you get a wind mitigation report if your if your roof is put on after 2003, because that will absolutely help save you money on your insurance policy.
And I have to touch on it. So because everybody wanted a free roof, when they're knocking on your door, say, hey, you had hail here a couple of weeks ago or 3 months ago or a year ago, and they go up and they say there's damage, and that's what caused the insurance companies to say we can't insure them because they're going to try and get us every time, and they were winning. We passed some laws now to change that. So unfortunately, it's, as much as I hate to say it, our greed cost us. We're the ones that did this, and we're fixing it, which is really good to hear. Glad to hear it.
That's absolutely correct.
The last question I have to ask, or one of the last questions I have to ask you is, if I wanted a bare minimum, bare necessities policy and really wanted to save some money, is that doable? Can I find a way to get less insurance and still be relatively protected?
Yes, there are a few things you can do, especially if you're inland. If your mortgage is paid off and you don't want to have wind coverage, you can get an X-wind policy, and that'll save you a ton of money. If you feel that you can afford a new shingle roof and you don't want to pay the extra couple $1,000s a year for wind insurance because your home's 30 years old, you can go without it. There are other types of policies. There are the most common policy in the state of Florida is an HO3 policy. There are now HO5 policies. There are HO8 policies. The HO8 policies are much easier to tailor. And if you don't want certain coverages or you want less coverage, you can do it. You can tailor those policies to fit your needs. Most insurance agents are going to try to write you the HO3 because they don't want to get sued if they offer you something that later on might have them come back and say, hey, why did you sell me this policy? So most agents are not going to push that unless you ask them. So you have to ask them, and you're going to have to sign something that says you understand that you have a different type policy. But yeah, they're available out there.
Terrific. So we're in control, which is nice because truthfully, I felt over the last couple of years we kind of weren't. So the last thing I want to touch on, and this is kind of a big one. I hear about Citizens Insurance all the time, and I hear, it's first off, I know it's more expensive. It's kind of that, fail safe. If you don't have it, you're going to be forced into it. What's the deal with Citizens Insurance? Wrap it up with that for me, Dan, if you could.
Sure, and I'm going to correct you because it is not the most expensive policy. It is the least expensive policy right now in the state of Florida for most insureds who have homes that are over 10 years old.
Good to know.
And that's why they are now the largest insurance carrier in the state of Florida. They were created after Hurricane Andrew to be the carrier of last resort when companies put moratoriums on during storms and stuff like that, and you still had to get homeowners insurance. That is now not the case. They are the largest carrier in the state of Florida, and they will continue to be the largest carrier for the next couple of years until the laws that were put into place start to go into effect, where these insurance companies can start changing their guidelines to allow more customers and their data, with the new roofs that have all been put on, with the new guidelines where they can start writing roofs that are 10 years old. And Citizens is now going to start taking rate increases. They just asked for a 14% rate increase. They're probably going to get it. So you're going to see the Citizens policy start to creep up, just like the other policies have. And then they have a depopulation program where if you are with Citizens, they're going to try to have another carrier take it over. They'll actually pay carriers to take that policy from them at renewal. You'll have an option to automatically switch to them. They'll send you a letter. In most cases right now, the premiums are still higher than what Citizens offers, but it's the gap is getting narrower. Right now, you can only be with Citizens if they can save you 20% or more on your current policy. So you just can't go to Citizens because you want to. If it's within 20% of your current policy, you cannot switch.
Well, that totally debunks the myth of them being the most expensive, what I've heard, and I'm pretty educated, so I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, that's why they're the largest right now. So they're writing on average 6 times more policies than the private market right now, weekly. So it's still not good right now, but it'll get better.
All right,
their policies in HO3. So if you're with Citizens, you're not getting worse coverage. You're getting the same coverage you would, for the most part, with Company A or Company B in the private market. There are some limitations. The screening closures are not covered on the Citizens policy. You only get to 100,000 liability, where with other carriers you can go up to 300,000 or even more in some cases. But you can buy liability separately from that. So unfortunately, right now they are the cheapest ones. But there is a caveat. If we have another bad hurricane year, you will be surcharged by Citizens to make up for the losses, and that surcharge can be pretty substantial. So you have to be careful. You have to weigh your options.
So, and this, I'm just going to throw this in because we live inland. We live in the Orlando area, and I know that you're currently on the coast. By the way, for everybody watching, if you haven't got it already, Dan is incredibly knowledgeable. Him and his entire team are phenomenal, and I have received the most amazing service. He's one of my dear friends at this point, and not because of the fact that we foster a relationship of trust and mutual respect. If you want his information, I'm going to put it down in the description. You can reach out to him directly if you have got a question. You're moving anywhere in the state of Florida. He can absolutely help. Dan, really, thank you so much. There's a couple things that I didn't know that I should have. I do now. I am sure a lot of our viewers will have have some great information as well. And the truth is, besides that surcharge, which freaks me out a little bit, I feel better about the insurance in Florida because I'm obviously worried about it. As I was saying, I'm in Central Florida. You're on the coast. I don't really worry about hurricanes here. I know that at one time you did live in the Central Florida, Orlando area. They don't, I mean, we get maybe a Category 1 blowing over here, and it's more of a hurricane party without power for a day or two. But it's not like the coast, in my opinion. Do you happen to second that without making, I don't want you to put your reputation on the line, but that's what I feel. What do you think?
Well, you're correct. Although, in 2004 we had 3 hurricanes hit the Central Florida area,
Yep.
and the one good thing about that year is, if you do have a hurricane deductible, now it's an annual deductible where it's not a per occurrence deductible. So
Right.
you are lucky to have an annual deductible for hurricanes in the state. So because we've had multiple hurricanes hit the state in the same area, so that deductible is an annual deductible, just an FYI. And yes, Central Florida has been spared for the most part of these devastating storms like Naples had this year, and all the flooding up and down the coast. So we are luckier in Central Florida than we are on the coast. But the Central Florida rates are high, predominantly because of all the roof claims and all the fraudulent roof claims that have happened. So do your due diligence and shop and pay attention to your policy. Yep.
Well, I can tell you that Jackie and I, when we pay off our house, which hopefully is a couple of years from now, we'll probably end up dropping our insurance. Definitely the roof insurance as you talked about, because we talked about that and you were advising us.
Yeah, I have clients now that just their house is paid off. They just put fire and they just go without the wind. They have everything else. They just want the wind. They'd rather self-insure for a roof if a hurricane comes and tears the shingles off. So yeah.
Shingles I can handle. A fire I'm not a big fan of.
Correct.
All right, well, listen, let's wrap it up because everybody's got things that they're doing. Thank you all for watching. Please hit the like, hit the subscribe. As I said, next time we're going to be talking about mortgages and best strategies in our next interview process. This is Dan Brown. He is the insurance extraordinaire. His contact information is right below. Give him a call, reach out to him. He didn't ask me to do that. I'm doing it because I truly believe in him and I will stand with him. Dan, thank you, my brother. I appreciate your time. Jackie says hello from her inspection, and we'll see you very soon, I hope.
Great seeing you. Thanks.
You too. Bye now.
Yeah, see you, bud. Bye.